Good morning, everyone. So today we'll start with the Indian Express analysis. So coming directly to the point, you see there are problems because Mulayam Singh Yadav died, so most of the newspaper was filled with that news only. So there's not much news today, but sometimes we have to do with what we have in the hands right now. So starting with the first page, so there is only one news, but still it is in developing phase, and we have discussed it already, the freezing of the symbols. Second is the collegium system. Again, there was no consensus and there was paucity of time, and as the Chief Justice was to be retired on 8th of November. Okay, so in that context, there was no decision, verdict was reached in this case. Another news here is as Russia hits Ukraine, deeply concerned. So this is another in development phase, but yes, there is an update in the morning that there was a secret voting provision which Russia proposed in the UN and India rejected it. But at the same time, though India has, particularly our foreign minister in Canberra has said that in the adverse time Russia has stood with us, well, whereas the West was supporting Pakistan. So again, it is still in the developmental phase, so probably will not be discussing it in that long. Further, you see, yeah, freezing of symbol is there, but nearly the symbols of the three parties were the same. So as according to the symbol rule, the symbol demanded by a Sindhi faction directly has some religious connotation. So election commission rejected their demand, and in fact both the party opted for the symbols. The symbol was first trident, the Trishul, as it is associated with Shiva. So because it has some religious angle, so that symbol was not given. Another symbol was Gada, again as it is associated with Hanuman, so no symbol was accorded. The third symbol was rising sun, which was demanded, and was demanded by both the factions. But as the rising symbol is already with that of DMK, so again no symbol was accorded. So in that case, Shiv Sena was awarded the Mashal or burning torch symbol, but Sindhi faction is given more time to have the election symbol, and this is the development due to because there was factional and this decision is still under election commission and there is an election. So in that case, no symbol was possible for both the faction unless a decision will be reached. So on page number 10, again the complete saga of Mulayam Singh Yadav. So now largely the 10th and 11th page is covering the same news across the part, so there is nothing to be discussed, and it has the political manifestations. Further, there is an important piece of information and which is on page 12, but again you see that all maximum of the editorials are covering the same thing, but in this Antigons of Iron, there is this important piece of information, though not directly, but indirectly it can be used, that it is saying that it is the millennials who are protesting against the atrocities of a dictator regime, those who were born in this century only. So this is the part where we have seen that the millennials are alienated by the democracy and all of the democratic phenomena. So in this case, it is an important piece of information that how the percolation of the idea and the democratization idea, and more importantly that how the right is forcing even the millennials as young as 15, 16-year people to participate in a movement and for directing and demanding the rights for everyone, not for themselves, but even them that for the women also. So this is the inference which we can withdraw from this Antigons of the Iran. So we started with some Greek mythology. So you can read it. Further, again, see Pakistan, US, the Bajwa reset. The thing is that Pakistan wants to move away from the clutches, or we wouldn't say clutches, but dependency on China. So in this case, he is proposing a new. They are proposing the new things that they should align with the United States. The problem that the author tried to highlight is that the internal order of the Pakistan is not functioning at all. They are in complete doldrums, and the economy is not functioning. So until and unless the clear majority of the West supports the Pakistan, the house will not come in the order. So in this case, they are trying to align with the Pakistan. So what would happen? What should be the India position? Though because India, Pakistan, the dependency. See, they will always civilian military consensus or nexus, because military is the biggest institution in Pakistan and it will always support it. So this should not worry in India, and India should not try to harp upon the issues that Pakistan has been awarded $400 million for F-16 planes and such other issues. Though there can be problems, but India should not worry about that. Again, this is in the developmental stage, and the clarity will come in some time. So that was not the big news. So the big news is about the issue of the hate speech, and the same the thing that hate speech is creating a kind of distortions where there is the feeling that we are witnessing that there is an othering of other sections of the society. For example, if we try to create the hate speech and if we propagate the hate speech and without that punishment, so it can be detrimental for the overall fabric of the notion, where the social peace can create distortions, and it will ultimately result in lower investment and the atmosphere of mutual suspicion. So this was the news, and this was the news I was telling, because it was just a statement that why India is still inclining with the USSR, or sorry, Russia, or previously USSR, because at that time when there was nobody, USSR supported us to a significant extent. So this was the news. And you see, basically the important news today are three: that how China beat extreme poverty and what lessons it holds for India; bank role in financial crisis, that is the if any of you are aficionados of the X-Men, then you can see our Philip Dybvig was awarded, along with Bernanke and Douglas Diamond, was awarded the Nobel Prize for analyzing the bank's role in creating the tendencies, which we will go subsequently. But there is another news, and it is very limited. And if you can refer to page number 17, and there is the small news of credit rating. So there you will see RBI on Monday said unless rating agencies discloses name of all the lenders in their rating sentiments, bank cannot use such rating for capital computations for making market provision. So you see that on the 9th October class, when we discussed that how CB and the issues with the rating agencies, now RBI is also saying that conflict of interest must be absorbed with, and first of all you have to show the lenders, so there is no rate shopping. Rate shopping is something when you pay someone and they increase your rating, so the phenomena of rate shopping can be curtailed. And yes, in this other news, that the important bit of information that it is being developed by the French support. So PM launches Mahakal Lok Corridor, the development and the beautification of the Ujjain project in different phases, where it will be supported by the French authorities. So this was all about the news. Now, the security threat VLC issue will be taken tomorrow, but today we will try to analyze that what China did. These are the pieces of the information. You see that when India and China got independence at the same time, so the level of poverty was far, the level of poverty was very much higher in China when compared to India. So according to an estimate before 1978, the level of poverty was 770 million, which is quite significant. And at the same time, India was also there in the poverty, but it was not that high as compared to China. So how China decreased the poverty in this period of 4 decades, and do have it any limitations that, is this just that the China thing that they are fuzzing with the data and such other issues. So is it just the China thing? So you see, for that we have to understand 4 parts of it. The first part is that, when both India and China started their progression after independence and after decolonization phase, so India tried to focus upon the not at higher studies, graduate, postgraduate programs. But at the same time, China focused upon the primary issues, health, education, and such other. Primary education, not the higher education which India focused upon. Primary education and health. So when in 1978, Deng Xiaoping opened up the economy of the Chinese sector, so how it evolved and what difference does it make that China has progressed so much as compared to India, because right now India is the country with biggest poverty. So the first pillar was the rapid economic growth supported by broad-based economic transformation, which provided new economic opportunities for the poor and raised average income. The development of low-skill and labor-intensive industries provided a source of employment for workers released from agriculture. Urbanization helped migrants take advantage of the new opportunities in the city, and migrant transferred boosted income of their relative remaining in the villages. Public investment in infrastructure improved living condition in rural areas, but also connected them with urban and export markets. You see that at a certain time, Kerala was called money order economics during the 1990s phase, because those people who migrated from Kerala to Middle East sent significant remittances back, and this led to the development of Kerala in various social sectors. These remittances helped the development of Kerala. That's why Kerala was called money economy. And as China developed, see, basically it was largely an agricultural country. So after the development of agriculture, as it happened that there is this system which is called Hakao province, Hakou, Hakao. So in which there was a mass migration based model where the villages, complete whole villages migrated to the urban areas, and they tried to create an sort of colony where you will get the jobs and you will be provided with the jobs in the low skill sector. As I told you, the primary education was important component in this, and it is presumed that even for manufacturing jobs you need to have certain kind of education. So this is what exactly happened. The family notion of the China is very strong. That family is an unit for the development. So they sent back the remittances to the rural areas. And this rural area helped, which created the demand. You see the connection with the money order economics. So this created a demand which raised the average income of the poor and further improved their positions. So public investment in infrastructure improved living condition in rural areas, but also connected them to urban and export markets. And this is the model we followed, and we are trying to focus upon Pradhan Mantri PMGSY, Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana. Why? Because to improve connectivity, the moment connectivity will improve, export model and such other issues will improve. And we are trying to link it with the waterways also, which will create the constraints on the supply from the eastern sides. So that will also improve the position. Second, the second pillar was government policies to alleviate persistence poverty, which initially target area disadvantaged by the geography and a lack of economic opportunities, but subsequently focused on the poor household irrespective of their location. So the parallel which you can draw from here is there were so many programs which we subsequently run, which was area development program, targeted area development program, and after that right now what we are trying to focus upon is aspirational district program. So you see, basically there was in confusion between the global norms, that of the state norms, that China followed a different model altogether and the state has a different value consensus altogether. So there was a conflict, and because of that conflict, this model developed. Third, in the second point, China poverty alleviation strategy can be characterized as development oriented, implying a focus on creating economic opportunities as a means to escape poverty. It evolved from area-based approach targeting poor counties and villages as a whole to set a whole intervention target as a to a poor household. And this is what we have discussed: area-based approach, identifying the area where the low-hanging fruits are there, and based on that low-hanging fruits, it can be developed. So you see a parallel between aspirational district program. Third part, China successfully benefited from the effective governance, which was key to the successful implementation to the growth strategy as well as the evolving set of targeted poverty reductions. China's size necessitated decentralized implementation arrangement with significant scope for local experimentations and a high degree of competition among the local government. Of course, to achieve coherence, local experimentation was subjected to strong monitoring and accountability between the levels of the government. So what we are discussing here is essentially competitive federalism and cooperative federalism. Cooperative in the tools of strong monitoring and accountability system, yet the effective governance. Now there lies the difference. The difference is that how can a democratic country meander through such challenges? Effective governance in case of China, because China is in a totalitarian regime and authoritative government, whereby you see that there are problems. This cannot be, the local dissent is not supported. The local dissent is not supported, and there are allegations also that they have the concept of the black jails, where any kind of dissent is thrown into the jails. So the problem is in such kind of jails is that any dissent can create a problem. So that was the part. So China size necessitated decentralized implementation, and this is the problem, that our local governance is not that strengthened as that of China, and we are not delegating many subjects for the local implementations, and they are financially dependent upon the state government authority and the central government to some extent. So this is the difference in case of China, and moreover there are so many ways of dissent. For example, in case of China, if you will see that they developed ghost cities among the two major hubs. The problem is that we can never know that how many people are living in such kind of cities, because it is one of the problem which is being raised right now, that the China's real estate sector is in very much crisis, and these cities are not inhabited by the population. That's why it is called ghost cities, and this is not possible in a democratic setup, because you see that due to the democratic bargain and democratic negotiations, such kind of tendencies are decried and always criticized, and that's why there is a need for presence of strong opposition, because in democracy civil liberties cannot be curtailed with, and this is what exactly has happened in China. Now the fourth point is that China also benefited from some favorable initial conditions at the time of opening up, such as relatively high level of human capital, which is widely recognized as critical input for the population of rapidly benefited from new economic opportunities when market reforms set in. So you see, here we have to understand this in a bit detail, which is that East Asian countries, basically Tiger Asian countries, opened their economies well before that of China. And now they developed in some case of technology. If we do remember, there was a 1975 global crisis where the Japanese motor and the Korean motor company got benefited from the crisis created in the US. So before that period, there was a demand for big, guzzlers, the trucks and the heavy motors. But after that, that demand shifted towards the small motors or small companies or small cars. So this created a condition where the demand of the Japanese industries increased to a significant extent, and the Korean industries that too. So the Chinese economy opened in 1978, so they needed the human labor and human source of power, and all the companies there, due to comparative advantage, global advantage, shifted their locations to the China, and this helped in Chinese overall figures. So there are two factors. There was presence of high human labor, human potential. Two, all the engineering colleges graduates were forced to work in these Chinese industries without wages. So ultimately, it resulted in the work experience training. That's why the PM skill nation we can see. But you see that they were not given any kind of wages. They were forced to work in the precarious condition. But what exactly happened due to this is that they developed the tendency, or largely as we can call it, they developed the potential of reverse engineering. Reverse engineering means they have learned, probably you will be able to better understand it by seeing the near similar design of iPhone and that of OnePlus, of that matter any Chinese phones. So this is something called reverse engineering. So they developed the reverse engineering, and at that time they evolved as a manufacturing hub, and the Chinese economy was completely export led economy. So the lessons to be learned from this overall thing is that you see that at that time there was condition conducive to be entering into the manufacturing sector. But do you think that conditions are conducive for India now? And if it is not, if it is, then why the most of the provisions of Make in India are failing? Because what the society in which we are living in can be characterized as the service-based society, and the scope for manufacturing, because China and such other countries already have an advantage in this case, creates the conditions. Now, so there is this Nobel Prize news. It is also called Severgius Risi Bank Prize in Economic Science. So it was awarded by Ben S. Bernanke, Douglas V. Diamond, and Philip S. Dybvig. So according to the Nobel Society, it has significantly improved our understanding of the role of banks in the economy, particularly during the financial crisis. An important finding in the research is why avoiding bank collapse is vital. Okay, just let me explain it through the help of, because generally they talked about the 1929 global crisis, but I will take the 2008 example in this case, which is, how bank failed. We heard that time that two large banks, Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan, was also suffering the heat of the global financial crisis. Further, there are so many banks which failed. So what exactly happened during that time is that, we generally hear about the CDOs, collaterals. So, banks were not regulating the financial incomes, and they were clubbing with the help of free agents, they were clubbing all the debts together, and ultimately they are creating new kind of bonds which were rated A plus or A plus plus, such kind of things. So the issue is that when the market collapsed and when their rating decreased, the banks started collapsing to a significant extent. So what is the lessons that to be learned from this? That do you think that bank run is created by the global crisis, or is it the global crisis which creates the condition of the bank run? So this was the thing which is discussed. So bank runs happen when depositor becomes worried about the bank's survival and rush to withdraw the income, which can create further situations and deterioration in the economy. So you see that what they are saying is that the banking industries is based completely upon a mutual antagonistic position where bank wants to maximize their interest, and that would be our next topic, and the investor wants to maximize their interest. So in this case, there we witness a contradictions, and so to resolve this, there is a need for liquidity, and if there will be bank run, the liquidity will decrease. They want the ability to pull out the money when they need it. The borrowers, especially those taking out the loans for building a home, or that part is but the bank asset have a long maturity because it promises the borrowers that they will not need to pay their loans early. On the other hand, the bank's liabilities have a short maturity. Depositor can access their money whenever they want it. The bank is an intermediary that transforms asset with long maturity into bank accounts with short maturity. This usually is called maturity transformation. So that is the part which we have to learn, maturity transformation. Otherwise, largely this topic relates to the bank run. And further, there is this news that after the sanction on of the USA on Russia, RBI tried to develop the mechanism where they can directly transfer their money to Russia. And in this case, there are two banks only came up with such mechanism, UCO Bank and Yes Bank. And other banks, including state banks of India and such big banks, are not initiating any of the process, and there was this meeting. The reason being is that there is a problem of that, basically most of our business comes from United States, and Russia only form a small part in the overall oil supplies. So this is the problem. That's why any of the Indian bank is not even listening to the moral suasions by the RBI, and this is creating a kind of dependency on the US. And this was the whole article about that how for the first time, not for the first time, banks are not paying any heeds to the request by the RBI. So this was the news, because largely the pages are filled with Mulayam Singh Yadav. Yes, if we talk about the Mulayam Singh Yadav, then the only thing which is of any interest of us is that how Mulayam Singh Yadav created the conditions for democratic fragmentations or democratic bargain. Before that, we can say that there was a single party rule and there was no differentiated opinion. With the Mulayam Singh Yadav, the situation improved and there was the condition of fragmented polity where the regional aspirations got the primacy over the national outlook. So this is where Mulayam Singh Yadav created conditions of the caste association, caste-based association, first Yadavs and the Dalit, and after that Muslim Yadav combinations. He created the condition for the social engineering. So this was all about the today's discussion, and we will resume the session tomorrow. Okay, thank you.